Okay, so this is the presentation on the cult of the saints, its rise and function in Latin Christianity. And this is, of course, for our MAP 600 class here. The book off of which this is based by Peter Brown here is generally an expansion of a series of lectures that he gave at the University of Chicago at the end of the 1970s, in 1978, called the Haskell Lecture Series. The book itself, not all that long. As you can see here, you see the 8.5 by 11, printed out, bound, thank you FedEx Office version of it, and it's all together rounds out at about 201 pages altogether. But on page 1, he kind of gives us a remarkable little segue into all of this. And he says that it is a book about the joining of heaven and earth and the role in this joining of dead human beings. That's literally from page 1. This book is more than simply a topic or a treatment of what we call in religious studies material culture. A lot of Catholic persons know. As he says at the very beginning, not as he says, but as Greeley says at the very beginning, we're a world of statues and holy medals and holy cards and things like that, all of which is material culture, of course. And I wear them constantly. They drive me nuts when I go running. I wear my St. Benedict metal crucifix and a medal of St. Jude, my patron. I'm not born on his feast day. I'm born on the feast of St. Benedict. Just want to point that out. So anyway, nevertheless, though, what these things reveal to us, the material culture that we all imbibe on as being Catholic persons, is a sacred and ultimate reality that is beyond the perceptible senses. So the reason we have these things, we're trying to sort of bridge the gap between the perceptible, which we are able to understand because of finite limits to our intellect and things like that, and the sacred that is ultimately beyond our senses. So, sort of at the outset of this little introduction and this little topic today is this discussion also of the sacred versus secular parlance, or our way of speaking. Because I had to consult the dictionary. I don't even like it called the cult of the saints, because in our modern language it gives people the wrong ideas. There's cult, I have big C referring to the cult of the saints, and then cult with the little c. There are 3 meanings for this. Is this supposed to click this?
There's a little button there that's the left click on a mouse. Mm-hmm. That'll advance it. You got to kind of point it, though, over a little bit toward the computer over here.
Oh. Huh. Oh, great. I feel like a weatherman now. This is really cool. This is awesome. All right. Okay. Very good. Okay. So anyway, in today's terms, most people think of a cult in a negative view. For example, the Heaven's Gate people, what was his name? Jim Jones? Was it Jim? Jim Jones and the Kool-Aid, or Satanism. Things like that. Cults in terms of, very negative, very like, oh, let's stay away from that. Even occult-ish, Wiccan, paganism, type things. However, in Peter Brown's sense, cult, note the large C, refers to a system of religious veneration directed toward a particular figure or set of figures. Now, the other 2 definitions had within them an aspect of negativity. In fact, one of the second definition said the exact same thing. Basically, a system of religious fervor to excess, or to degrees which may, by the normal population, be construed as odd or outside the ordinary. And then the third, of course, was just an astonishing definition. Just came out rightly and said, I can't remember the exact definition. It's either way, it was negative. So the first use here, the definition of cult, was this very simple one that Brown is referring to. He sets his limits by reminding us that Christianity is a little old, more than 2,000 years, and he is not giving us a view of the cult, or what we may today call the communion of the saints, from Christianity's entire history. We're only taking a look at the rise of the veneration of the saints, or how the saints contributed to the overall development and continual spread of Christianity. And he isolates that in his discussion between the 4th and the 6th century. So that's what we're looking at particularly here. Beyond the old-fashioned model of Christian anthropology, he refers to a narrow two-tiered model, which is what we actually call the classical model. Basically, there was the religion and philosophy of the learned upper-class persons versus the sort of the pop culture beliefs of everybody else. And what ultimately he suggests is that in order to really understand the cult or communion of the saints in Christian anthropology and what they've done for the propagation and the spread of the faith, we have to look beyond that narrow two-tier model. That we have to look beyond the idea that, all right, there's the religion and philosophy of the learned classes, and then there's the religion or philosophy, the beliefs of the peasants, or the other classes of persons. He said that there were numerous subsets, numerous different niches that sort of developed over history and throughout time. And we'll see as this presentation sort of goes on how that's different for not just different types of saints, but the different, and you'll also see what I mean by different types of saints too. What I want to do, though, I know it said we kind of have a discussion and stuff like that at the end. I've kind of broken this discussion down into 4 parts. Brown gives us 6 chapters in the book, but I've broken this whole little discussion down into 4 parts. This is the for your consideration. Our hashtag for this is Max Musings, since we're just kind of talking about it a little bit. So this quote from the first section, page 4, "The joining of heaven and earth was made plain even by the manner in which contemporaries designed and described the shrines of the saints." So my question to you then becomes, in what tangible ways did the devotees or the faithful and or the venerators of the saints influence church architecture, art, music, liturgy? And over time, how has that changed, or how has that stayed the same? So if you're just thinking through your knowledge of antiquity to modernity, how do we see the means of trying to grasp what the saints did, or how important the saints were throughout these different mediums, whether architecture, art, music, liturgy? Any weigh in on that at all?
And everything about Christianity, not just the saints, from Jesus through the saints, has affected almost every bit of architecture that we have, the music that we have, art especially. I don't even want to get into liturgy, but I just think about the great artists and what they have done, and the icon that Michael showed us. It's just the influence that it has had on all of us. It's influenced every way of life as far as the arts are concerned, and there's no way to describe it without just delving into, if you were to look at the structures here at the university, how it would affect the architecture. Look at ancient Rome, look at the Middle East, and see what's going on there, and the influence of the saints. I don't know if that's what you're looking for.
It's precisely what I'm looking for, and thanks for
even the music that you play.
Yeah,
just think of the change in the music from there to when you think about, when I think about Christian music now, I think about like YouTube. YouTube, look what they play, and the way the music and the influence that they've had and people that they don't even know that they're Christian, and then or the streets of gold, and Sunday, Bloody Sunday, and just kind of goes on. People, if they look into those a little bit, they realize the faith involved with that. Necessarily directed to a particular saint, I don't know, but that's part of the development.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thanks, Steve. Brad or Brandon, do you have anything you want to add into this? Doesn't have to be just about architecture. I mean, he touched on music and art. Brandon, you're the liturgy man.
Well, I mean, every day is a liturgical feast day for some singers.
Mm-hmm.
So, or multiple,
Absolutely.
quite a few. So, and then that goes back to the early days. So,
By I'm certain to no ironic happenstance, today is the feast of my namesake, Anthony of Padua. Just want to point that out as well. Is it ironic? Probably not. So, and when we've kind of touched on this a little bit, how has this changed over time or stayed the same? We see that just in different artistic representations. Dee mentioned the different styles of music and things like that, and certainly, for the love of God, the liturgy has changed from celebrations in the homes and the house churches over into the more formalized sort of pomp and circumstance that's kind of come along with the church having taken its origin in Rome. And things like that. But, two things that I wanted to point out, just sort of as my little kick in to this question and to this prompt here. All of us, I think, in the cohort, Father Mike, if you've not been there, you should eventually make your way out to East Memphis, White Station, St. Louis Catholic Church. Behind the altar, and this renovation was only done, how many years ago was this?
It was 2.
Was it 2? Is that it?
Yeah.
Seems like we've
You
had
talking
it
about the
all.
saints behind the altar?
Yeah.
I think it was just 2.
There's that beautiful image, and I mean, it first comes out of, I forget who painted it. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Fra Angelico or something like that, but there's the image of the priest celebrating Mass, and he's elevating the host, and then you see the altar table there. It is an older picture, so he's got his back turned, he's got the host elevated up, and you see around the altar all of the saints and things like that are just kind of invisibly present, because the Mass is the heaven wedded to earth idea. So behind the altar at St. Louis, built into the wall, you have 8 different saint statues, all of which represent different aspects of the churches and the parish's makeup in the city of Memphis. You've got Jean-Baptiste de La Salle back there because Monsignor MacArthur is a CBHS graduate and has a long-standing relationship with CBHS. You've got St. Agnes, St. Dominic, because St. Agnes and St. Dominic. Surprisingly, you don't have Benedict, even though we have a St. Benedict school. I mean, there's absolutely no politics involved in why that was left out or anything like that at all. You've got Saints Peter and Paul. You've got John Vianney, the Cure d'Ars, of course.
All right, you got me thinking about something.
Who they are?
No, about this right here, and just as you mentioned in the saints, and our discussion, apophatic, cataphatic, going through that Dr. Wallace that we talked about that, or guys, can't remember.
Probably Wallace.
And in the discussion that we had yesterday about this, looking at things that are missing, and I think about the saints literature.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that's missing from that.
From my little list here, yeah.
Your list.
Yeah.
It seems because literature might be the biggest.
Well, yeah, I mean, we talked, even Father Mike touched on it yesterday, Gregory the Great, how we got the life of St. Benedict, for God's sake.
Well, which saint? Probably very few saints didn't put something down in writing.
Oh, yeah.
Or leave a story, whether it was from them or someone close to them, and that's how we know that more than anything. So just think of the stories of the saints from who are the newest ones? John Henry Newman, the ones that are beatified right now, Mother Teresa. Who else is- Okay, and just think of their stories from the very beginning to now and how that has changed.